start off by saying I appreciate everybody listening to my case presentation. This case itself is involving the theft of intellectual property. To be exact, it is genetic modified corn. But I want to start off by telling you a little bit the intro to this case, and then we'll get into the case a little bit. When I first started this case, and I contacted my headquarters and FBI there, I told them, I said, I believe we're having a theft of corn seed going on here. After much laughter from headquarters that I wanted to start a case on corn, we all realized real fast that there were spies in the cornfields. Again, my name is Special Agent Byron Militello. I work counterintelligence in the Des Moines RA Resident Agency. This case itself, just so that I understand, it was a counterintelligence case that lasted 4.5 years of investigation. I get the liberty to talk about this case in an unclassified setting due to the fact that trial prep, we declassified almost 85% of this case. This case involved in our number one threat country, which has been, talked about with our current director, Chris Ray. It is China. So when you're going to hear me talk about it, I want to make it clear to everybody, I'm not talking about Chinese persons. I'm talking about their government, the Chinese government, because there's a lot of things that people may not understand about it. The big thing I want to be a takeaway from this case is I know there's probably people listening that have no interest in agriculture or probably listening and saying, hey, corn boy, why are we talking about this? I don't do anything with corn. First of all, I'm going to say that's kind of harsh. We don't need to call names, but I am going to say that, hey, I don't want you to look at this as corn. Because after you hear my presentation and you hear how hard China worked at to steal a corn seed, you need to ask yourself, how hard would China work at to steal my product? All right, so 2011, my partner, Mark Benton, and I, we go out, we do what we call public outreach. So we went to our local ag company that was headquarters here, and at the time it was DuPont Pioneer. They have merged with Dow and since become Corteva, but for this case matter, I am going to call them Pioneer. So we go out and we meet with the CSO, the Chief Security Officer. Sit down with him, we explain who we are, kind of how we work. It was a real good meeting, and at the end, typically as FBI, we always ask, hey, is there anything we should know about or anything you think that's of interest that's happened recently? And he said, well, yes, there was. He said, on 2 consecutive days, we had these agent males we believe are Chinese in one of our growers' fields. So what does every non-farming FBI agent ask? What the heck is a grower's field? So, grower's field in layman terms, just so everybody understands this, when you drive down anywhere that's agriculture, corn, soybeans, fruit, whatever it is, the ag company itself always has markers. And the markers are listing saying it could be LGC, it could be Monsanto, it could be Corteva, whoever. These grower fields aren't marked that way. Even the farmers that own the fields itself, they're not told what's being planted there. The field manager of that particular seed company tells them what to plant. And they just tell them it's a grower's field. And that's where all the research and development is done for the future products that we eat in our supermarkets. So this picture right here is a picture of an actual, we got declassified, of a grower's field. And this road right here is about 5 streets off the main drag. Again, it's not labeled. They don't even make it off the main, even off these side streets. It's about 20 yards in. So again, the farmer knows it's there, the field manager knows it's there, but it's meant not for anyone else to know. This is the industry standard of what's happening. Okay, so on the second day, the field manager, he goes up, he finds these guys in the cornfield. These 2 guys are on their hands and knees digging in the cornfield. He goes up to them and he immediately says, he goes, who are you? And I want to see some ID. Well, they both produce their actual ID. And they made the fatal mistake. Mo Hailong right there, he says, well, we're ag researchers from the local university. He says, well, what university are you affiliated with? And he says, we're ag researchers from the University of Iowa. Now, Iowa has several universities, but there's 2 main ones. We have the University of Iowa and Iowa State. Iowa State is our ag school. The University of Iowa does not have an ag school. So the field manager, being a good Iowan, says, what university are you affiliated with? He goes, the University of Iowa. He says to him, he goes, the University of Iowa doesn't have an ag school. Mo and Lay both grab their license out of his hands. They go over to their rental car, get in it, and speed away. So this brings me to a really good point with the FBI. In the FBI, We wish that no one would ever spy against the United States or spy against any United States company. But if someone chooses to spy, we in the FBI prefer the stupid spy. The stupid spy like Mo and Lay here, they produce their IDs right off the bat, saving the FBI a lot of time in investigation and saving the taxpayers dollars. So please don't spy, but if you're going to spy, stupid spy is the way to go. All right, so we decided to go meet with our second ad company. That is Stein Seed. And we meet with Harry Stein, the owner. Stein Seed is the largest soybean producer in the United States. They also produce genetic modified corn. So we sit down with Harry. We do the same thing. We talk with Harry about who we are and what's going on. And in the end, we ask the same question. We're like, hey, is there anything you think we should know about? Mr. Stein says, no, there's not. Well, just before we get up, I go to him. I go, Mr. Stein, I said, can I ask you? I go, have you had any foreign delegations tour here recently, or any foreign companies that want to produce, maybe work jointly with you? He goes, well, yeah, agent. Matter of fact, I do. He goes, I just had a guy in last week. I got his business card right here on my desk. Would you like to see it? I said I would. And then he slaps that right in front of me. Oh, Mohe Long again. Now, looking at this business card, you can see that he hand wrote the word Robert. For any persons here who are not affiliated or working with, Chinese organizations, Chinese nationals that come to the U.S., a lot of times they just take on an American name. Because of the fact that most Americans, like myself, we butcher their names up so bad, they take on an easy name so that we can just say it and they go by that. So he went by the name Robert. Now he wrote DR there for doctor because obviously we're all too stupid to know that PhD at the end of his name means doctor. So thank you, Mo. All right. What we look at this card right here is he works for the Beijing Daobang Technology Group, DBN. DBN is the largest ag company in China. DBN's subsidiary company is called Kingsnauer Seed. Kingsnauer Seed is the largest corn producer in China. Now, what we do in the FBI, we start looking at backgrounds about this company and about what's going on. And every 5 years, China puts out what's called the 5-year plan. This particular time, it was the 11th one. We're right now into the 13th 5-year plan. But when this was out, in the 5-year plan, it basically has a list of needs that China wants. And one of those needs was they want to advance in genetic modified corn. When you do this for the government of China, China will reward you very well. This company, DBN, did so well in their advanced research for China that the government deemed them a dragonhead company. A dragonhead company for China means you are fully funded or heavily funded by the government to keep advancing in that research. Well, doggone, yeah, they're doing a great job advancing their research. You just steal it from U.S. companies, and there you go. They got it all. So now we're watching them. Now we have Chinese nationals with a Chinese company who are getting paid by the government of China to steal our corn seed. This is what it's starting to look like. All right. So one great thing about the FBI, we have task force officers throughout the FBI, and I had a local Polk County deputy that sat actually just a desk away from me. I turned to him and I said, hey, man, can you look for any suspicious activities in fields around here, anything that, people are, or any kind of areas? He said, yeah. He pulls up one in Bondurant, Iowa. He says, yeah, hey, this might be of interest to you. He gives me the report, and the report has, it has these 3 individuals in it again. You got Mo, Lay, and now you got Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee happens to be the CEO and the boss of both Mo and Lay. And the way the report read was Dr. Lee there was, he was in dress clothes standing in a cornfield of a farmer, and the farmer called it in. So basically the deputy shows up, he asks him, he says, hey, what are you guys doing here? Now, they're a little smarter this time. They realized don't use the University of Iowa. They just said, hey, we're ag researchers from China, and this is a welcome practice in China. The deputy tells them, well, this is called trespassing in Iowa. Get out. So they leave. I go over and I interviewed the farmer, and I said, how you doing, sir? I said, can I ask you? I go, what do you grow here? He goes, corn. I said, okay. I said, hey, can you take me out to where these individuals were at? He says, yeah. He goes, he takes me over. He goes, right here, agent. I said, awesome. I said, what do you grow right here exactly? And the farmer looks at me and says, I don't exactly know. I go, what do you mean you don't exactly know? He says, this is a grower's field. And I said, wow. I said, are you a grower's field for who? He says, for Monsanto. Now, Monsanto has now merged with Bayer, but I'm going to keep calling Monsanto. I said, Now we have two victims. We have both Pioneer and Monsanto. All right, so we start looking at our ag companies that we're dealing with right now. So we have Pioneer, Monsanto, and Stein Seed. We start looking at all the employees there. Who are the employees that they're talking to, they're communicating with? Who are the employees that are facilitating tours, whatnot? We're starting to look at these employees and see what are their jobs, what are their positions. We got corn geneticists, we got research people, we got people in mapping that knows where the growers' fields are. So now we are working with our ag companies independently to start watching their own employees or how they feel. Now, one thing I want to make a point right here. If we have multiple victims in the FBI, we don't tell each victim who the other victim is. We keep that very, very private because we don't want to give out any kind of a competitive advantage to another company. I also, at the same time too, it's like I'm having lots and lots of meetings from this, but it's working out well. Okay, so a big thing that I always like to tell everyone here is, and I call this slide my Ed Snowden effect. We start watching their employees, and we're seeing that a lot of their employees with these ag companies, they're all Chinese nationals, and what they're doing is a lot of them are coming in abnormal business hours, way early in the morning, staying way late at night. We're starting to see them do massive downloads of their servers that holds a lot of their IP information. One thing I got to really push in this, my presentation here, is that the private sector companies, you have to protect your property. And what I may say by that is not just with the password, not just with, maybe one or two variables to protect your property, have many steps in place, because that's part of what we have to show that the, subjects we call them, but realistically it's a bad guy, how they circumvent these things in order to steal your product. And these ad companies had several steps, so it was really good for that. Okay, this slide right here, this is just a basic definition of intellectual property. And basically what it is, it's something that's been innovated. Doesn't mean it's invented, but something that's already out there, but you guys might have perfected it to work better for your company. And then obviously someone steals it, takes it without permission. The big reason why I put this slide out here, being the non-farming FBI agent, I thought all corn seed was yellow. Oh no, there's over 30,000 corn seeds that are tested every year to come to market, and only 300 make it to market. And of those 300, each one is color coded different. So you'll have pretty colors, bright pinks and purples and all that kind of stuff. So it plays later into the case. Okay, so this next slide, ladies and gentlemen, I am truly sorry. I know you thought this was going to be a G-rated presentation and family friendly, but it's actually, now I got to talk about what boy corn and girl corn like to do behind closed doors. It is time for corn porn, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, corn. You get your mind out of the gutter. What if some kids are watching this? Okay, now, the big thing here that you guys can understand about this, I'm going to give you the one-on-one of how corn breeding happens. You have the inbred seed, that is the parent line, and then you have the hybrid. The hybrid is what we use for food consumption, or ethanol for gas, for animal feed, for everything else. The inbred is where the intellectual property is at, okay? So basically, a corn stalk with a tassel is a male. When it gets detasseled, it becomes a female. It pollinates and makes the hybrid. So what you do is you take two different lines, like, a female and a male, like right there in my example, it shows it. Then you make the hybrid. So that makes it like a super plant. So you can take a drought-resistant, insect-intolerant, boom, then you got a drought, insect-resistant hybrid. The hybrids are the big corn stalks they sell, and that's what's always put into the bags that the farmers plant every year. But they can't make it pristine, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. Okay, right there, these are just some slides I want to show you guys that are basically, the difference between genetic modified corn and non-genetic modified corn. Obviously, the 30s is non-genetic. Genetic, it just can hold up to the weather better, it's stronger, it lasts longer, it feeds more people, all those sort of things. Obviously, as our corn yield has risen, so has China. So there's a need here, and China can't keep up with us. And the big reason why that is, and this is just the industry standard with U.S. corn seed, we're 8 years advanced over China. And the reason why that is because the technology that they do here in America, again, like I said, they protect that. And they know that if China can get it, what China will do is they'll just rebrand it and try to sell it as their own. So they keep the U.S. corn seed 8 years advanced. So you can see right now, if DBM can steal that, they're 8 years advanced, and they can feed the population, and they can act like they're superheroes to, their government, and the government well rewards them. Okay. So right here, when this investigation started, Mo Long actually is a U.S. citizen. Obviously, he's a former Chinese national, but he's a U.S. citizen. He's living in Boca Raton, Florida. FBI Miami opened the investigation, but later on, FBI headquarters took the case away from him and gave it back to me as the case agent because of the fact all the criminal activity was happening in the Midwest, mostly here in Iowa, since we are kind of the corn capital of all the states. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm giving you two is I'm giving you the bullet points, kind of the more cool stuff that happened through the investigation. Mo was traveling up through the Midwest about every 3 weeks, constantly meeting and greeting with other Chinese nationals working in these corn companies, trying to meet with professors, trying to learn as much as he can, get as much as he can to get back to China. But in particular here, April 2012, Mo's heading to the airport from his home there in Miami, and we know that he's flying out to O'Hare. Now, the great thing is, at this point, because Mo was doing so much of his little activity there, that we, the FBI, decided that we were going to give Mo a free upgrade on his car, and we decided to give him a free audio and video upgrade. He didn't even know about it, and we didn't even charge him for it. But at this time, Mo was being watched by everything from eyes in the sky to everything else he's doing. All right, so he gets to the airport, flies to Chicago. When he lands in Chicago, he gets a rental car and drives to Moni, Illinois. Moni, Illinois is about 45 minutes south of Chicago O'Hare. He goes to a farm there. We discover that that farm was bought by Mo for DDN. He lists himself as the president. That was about $1 million farm. Okay, so from the farm, he drives over to, which is Crossroads Ag, and that is pretty darn close to my office. So it's about a good 5.5 hour drive. He drives there. Now, Mo has a PhD. Mo speaks better English than I do. But what Mo does is he goes inside the Crossroads Ag. Now, each co-op dealer can only sell a particular brand of corn seed. That means they can only sell for LG, or they can only sell for Monsanto or Pioneer. Crossroads can only sell for Pioneer. He goes in there, and Mo instantly acts like he can barely speak English, but he pulls out thousands of dollars and says, I'm going to buy the current corn seed. Remember, that current corn seed is still 8 years advance over China. The co-op dealer realizes he can make lots of money. But however, as a farmer, they have to sign a grower's agreement. They're only allowed to plant the seed for 1 year. They can't resell it, and they can't send it anywhere outside the United States. All things that Mo doesn't plan on adhering to. So then Mo gets in his car, drives over to MFA. MFA is only a Monsanto dealership. And Mo repeats the same thing again. I can't speak English, but shows lots of money. They sell him bags of corn seed. A typical bag of corn seed has 80,000 kernels in it, okay? That's all supposed to be hybrid. However, they can't make those bags pristine. Those bags have 1 to 1.5% hybrid seed in it, or inbred seed. So if Mo can get that bag of corn seed over to China, they can get the parent line and they can start producing their own corn seed. And I want to say something here. As Mo's doing all this, there's a thing in the FBI that we do for the counterintelligence. When we're watching people that's doing spying activities, it's called a surveillance detection route. And what that means is basically we're watching our spies, and if our spies start doing all kinds of erratic driving, meaning they start going like 100 miles an hour, then drop down to 30 miles an hour, then start doing hard turns, pulling behind buildings, what they're trying to do is they're trying to discover if anyone's following them. We saw this early on with Mo, so we started really tailing Mo from far behind because we knew what he was doing. And when Mo would go out and do this, Mo did this every single time he drove anywhere in the United States. I mean, everywhere he drove like this. Mo was a dedicated spy. It made it hard to follow him because of this. You know, and here's the other thing about Mo. Mo hardly ever stopped to eat, hardly ever stopped to go to the bathroom. Honest to God, I thought the guy was a robot. It was so hard to follow him. So this is when part of the investigation when nicknames started coming out, and I nicknamed Mo the Iron Butt Warrior because the Iron Butt here just never stopped driving. He'd go 9-10 hours without, either getting gas and keep going. So he was hard to surveil. But I'm going to tell you guys how I got my nickname during this investigation too. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I was in another part of the country executing an arrest warrant. My partner Mark is back here in Iowa, and he's allowed to speak to the press. And I was like, wow. Okay, he calls me up and says, yeah, the LA Times is going to interview me, and then our FBI intranet newspaper is going to interview me too. And I said, okay, yeah, that's awesome, man. He goes, yeah, talk about the case. I said, okay. Well, I'm flying back. I didn't realize when Mark gets there and starts telling about the story, he starts telling the whole story in first person. Everything was him, me, I did all this. At the end, the LA Times reporter says, wow, Agent Ben, he goes, that's pretty intense case. He goes, one agent did all this by themselves. You didn't have anyone else with you? He goes, no. There was other personnel involved. So the headline read, Mark Ben and other personnel catch Chinese spies in Iowa. So as I get back here in the office, people took down my name sign. There were banners all over the office saying, "Yay, other personnel! You're back in the office." I got a standing ovation for other personnel. So, so that nickname still lives in me to this day. So it's obvious I work with very mean people who like to use hurtful words. All right. So as I start looking more into Mo's background of what he owns and what he's purchased, we found out that he bought a farm field in Redfield, Iowa. Redfield, Iowa, being about 45 minutes north of my office. Mo bought about 45 acres there. So I meet the realtor that sold him the land, and I said, "Hey, is Mo actually the one planting here?" They said, "No, it's this local farmer." I go talk to the farmer. I said, "You plant for Mo Hey Long?" He goes, "Yes, sir, I do." I said, "Can I ask you, what do you plant on this field here?" He goes, "I believe it's corn." And, this is a long-time farmer. And I said, "What do you mean by you believe it's corn?" He says, "Well, Mo pulls in every planting season. He opens up the trunk of his car, and he has all these different color-coded bags. And he tells me, hey, on these 3 rows, plant this bag. On these 3 rows, plant this bag." And he's pointing to different bags. So what Mo's trying to do is he's going to plant out the current corn, take those ears, and send them back to China. And then China could possibly do one of the reverse engineerings. We're like, wow. So they're doing everything they can to get it back there. All right. So we're still following Mo. May 2nd, Mo drives back to Chicago O'Hare. Okay, again, doing those surveillance detection routes, never going to the bathroom, just, iron butt was a dedicated man. He picks up 2 unknown UD subs from the airport. Those guys get in his rental car, they drive over to Target, they buy a shovel, they buy a bunch of different baggies, and they buy a weight scale. Now, Chicago FBI and their surveillance teams asked me, like, "Byron, what do you want us to do?" I said, "You guys have task force officers on your squad." They said, "Yeah, we do." I said, "Get a marked unit behind Mo." I said, "And wait till he does one of those SDRs. He's going to drive like a madman." I said, "And you got an easy traffic stop." And they said, "Yeah, we can do that." So they get behind Mo, and sure enough, what's Mo do? He runs a red light. Thank you, stupid spy. So every officer, they need it for officer safety's sake. They need to ID everybody in the car. Well, we ID these 2 people. We have Yi Jin and Lin Young. Now, Lin there, he's honest. We look at his visa right away. He says, "I'm a DVN geneticist," gives out, addresses, phone numbers, everything. Yi Jin was comic relief for me because obviously I need to have some laughter in my life. Yi there puts down that he works for a fish hatchery, puts down different addresses and stuff. I'm like, oh, good. But the knucklehead couldn't think of different phone numbers. He puts down the corporate phone numbers for DVN. There again, thank you, Yi. So we figure, here we go. We got 2 DVN employees and cases open on them. All right, May 11th. Now, these guys, for the last couple of days, have been driving around different co-ops. They're going to different farm fields. We're watching them. They pull into FedEx, and they pull out 5 big boxes. They walk into FedEx there. And the surveillance team's like, "What do you want us to do?" I said, "Wait till they leave, go in there, ID who you are, and ask FedEx to hold those boxes." FedEx obviously has a good relationship with the FBI. So the boxes themselves are listed as corn seed. We have a search warrant for the boxes itself. We look in there, and we see all these different pretty colored corn seeds with different markers on them, different numbers and that. So we know it's a code that's for the Chinese people. We also see that these boxes were going back to a geneticist that works for DVN in China. So now we're kind of at the predicament. We yet have been able to send this to a lab. We have to send it to an independent lab to get this tested out for the inbred seed. So we know that we want to get these seeds tested out, but as of right now, since we can't do that, we don't want to blow our cover in our case. We, the FBI, I should say, wanted to let these seeds go back to China. So I met with all my ag companies saying, "Hey, look, I don't know if it's your product, but maybe let these go back." They were immediately with a big, oh no, that's not happening, FBI. We said, okay. But Pioneer said this. He said, "How about this, Byron?" They said, "Why don't you take a picture of the corn seeds, weigh it out for us. We'll get a product from 8 years ago. We'll color code it to look like that. And if you guys are willing to do the switch and give us our current seed back, we'll go for that." I was like, oh, okay, it's our only option. So we got the main hub for FedEx is in Memphis. So Memphis FBI is down there waiting for him. We in the FBI here in Omaha, we don't have a pilot. So we had to contact St. Louis FBI. St. Louis sent their pilot up. So We realized we got all these corn seeds. We got them color-coded. I head over to the Pioneer office. They give me all the seeds. They put them in my car. I'm about a half hour from the airport. Right then, literally, they're putting the seeds in my car. I get a call from the pilot from St. Louis, the FBI pilot, saying, "Hey, Byron, I'm on the tarmac. They're only allowing me to be here 15 minutes. I'm like, "Dude, I'm a half hour out." He's like, "Okay." Headquarters calls me. They're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I got to get these seeds there, and I don't know if I'm going to have time." They go lights and sirens. I said, "I don't want to go lights and sirens." They said, "Go lights and sirens." And I'm like, fine, whatever. So I go lights and sirens carrying corn seeds. I get to the airport. I make it in time. Imagine that. The pilot and I will get those corn seeds bags onto his plane. He takes off. He gets down to Memphis. He gets the switch happen with Memphis FBI. We get it on the exact correct plane that it has to be on to get to China. We did this in about a matter of almost less than 48 hours, close to 36 hours. So I can't thank enough having all these different offices and everything else to work on this case to get that part off. The big takeaway here that I tell everyone is next time you see a dark sedan with lights and sirens racing down your street, turn to the person next to you and say, I wonder if that's an FBI agent taking corn to the airport. You never know. Okay, so now we have multiple subjects here that we're looking at in this case, and this is what turns FBI cases into major cases. We have different, multiple victims. We have multiple subjects we're looking at. We have hundreds of pounds of corn seeds. We knew that we had to consolidate because each person had their own case, and it was getting to be a little bit, too much. So we decided, hey, let's make this a major case. What we decided with was the name where it comes from is first of all, most of our corn seeds were purple in color. My partner Mark liked to call them the purple headaches. And then we had the maize. Now, obviously, we weren't allowed to use the word maize with the correct spelling like a corn maze because they were afraid that if China ever saw that word, they would deduct that we have something going on about corn, and they didn't want to let us use that. My IA kind of brought up about the Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze song, and that's how we came up with the cool name of Purple Maze. Oh, yeah. Well, this brings me to a very good point here in the FBI, how we need to start copyrighting our major case names. Because in 2012, we invented this name. And in 2017, the National Grocery Store Trader Joe's invented another cereal line called, you got it, Purple Maze. That looks good. Now, I know a lot of you right now have a burning question on your brain, and that is, hey, other personnel, is that cereal made in China? That answer is no. It's made right here in the good old US of A. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so August. We're going to go down out to August. August 25th, 2012. Dr. Lee, Yi, and Lin are all flying into Chicago O'Hare. I get word of this. So what we know there then is we decide, hey, let's find their rental car, and you know what? We're going to give them the same free audio and video tech-up that we did for Mo all the time. The FBI were nice like that. So I find out they're a car rental company. I asked them, I said, what kind of car are they renting? They said, hey, it's going to be a Ford Explorer. I talked to our tech guys. Our tech guys are like, hey, Byron, a bigger car is better because we can put more on it. I said, okay. So I got a hold of the car rental company. I said, hey, the FBI is going to pay the difference. You're not going to tell them that. You're just going to say it's a free upgrade, but I'd like to get your biggest vehicle. They said, we got a Chevy Tahoe. I said, awesome. I said, that's going to be their car, but I need it 2 days before they get it. They said, sure thing, FBI. So we got that car and we gave them that free tech-up that, most people probably wouldn't like, but hey, these guys are special. So we checked that car up. Now here's the great thing. So they get off from the plane, they walk over to the ticket counter, they get their car. As they're getting their car, they said, hey, we're going to give you a free upgrade because that car that you were going to rent, it's not available. Well, Dr. Lee was kind of happy, like, oh, bigger car, nice. Well, Yi there, again, I love it. They're speaking all in Mandarin, because obviously no one in America can speak Mandarin. Yi starts speaking in Mandarin. We got FBI agents all around. We got them listening, guys and gals that understand Mandarin. And Yi starts saying, oh, this is bad. This is bad. He starts saying the Americans, a.k.a. the FBI, they're onto us. They're onto us. Lynn there saying, calm down. No, it's a good thing. We got a bigger car. He's like, well, we got to be careful. We got to be careful. Now, most people, when the hair in the back of your neck starts rising and you realize, hey, something bad could be happening, most of us would be smart and say, I'm not going to do that. Not the stupid spy. The stupid spy would look down a scary dark cave and hear a monstrous growl. They're going to walk right on in there. Well, the average person would say, maybe not. Not these guys. So they get in the car, and sure enough, they start talking. And if you look at some of this right here, and I'm not going to read it all because I don't like reading slides to people. I find that kind of insulting, actually. Yi there on the second one talks about how they're going to be spies. Lin on that third line talks about the exact violation they're committing. They're stealing IP. I love this. They confessed without an interrogation. Yep, that's how good we try to be in the FBI. Get a confession without even having to interview them. I love it. So these guys went on and on talking about how what they're doing is wrong. But it's great because Len there the whole time keeps telling them, don't worry about it. The Americans are too nice. They're not going to arrest us. We're fine. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right now to everyone. If you break federal law, I'm going to arrest you. I kind of enjoy catching bad guys, so I must be a horrible person to these guys. All right. So they're basically all throughout the Midwest driving around. They all decide to meet it back at the farmhouse in Moni. Mo flies up from Florida. Another DBN employee by the name of Wang, he lives in Canada. He drives down from Canada. There's also another DBN employee by the name of Song. Song lives in Chicago. They all meet at the farmhouse. Now, we see them pulling bags out of their cars. We know what they're doing. They're going to divvy up the sick corn seed. Now, when Mo, and this is a great point too, when Mo flew up from Florida to Chicago, in his real car, again, yeah, special tech, Mo is talking to Yi, my comic relief guy. He tells Yi on 3 times, whatever you do, don't leave anything in the car. And he's referring to the corn seed. Don't leave it in the car because the Americans will find it. And he tells him 3 times. And each time Yi's response is, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, he's getting annoyed, like talking to a kid who thinks it knows it all. Sure enough, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think Yi does when he drops his car off? He's got corn seed all over the car. There's corn seed on the floorboards. There's corn seed in cup holders. There's corn seed in the doors. We were loving this. I get a call from Chicago. They're like, there's corn seed everywhere. I'm like, grab it all. Thank you, Yi. We appreciate the stupid spy. So now we know that they're trying to cross the border. Okay. Now, as most of us know here, whoever's traveled international, probably most of us have, you know that customs border can always randomly pull people out and you can get a search done on you. Anytime you cross, go in or out of the United States. Well, yep, I was shocked like everyone else. Yi and Lee both were on that list to get randomly searched. So they got searched. All the while, FBI agents were undercover standing nearby. All right, so Dr. Lee, and this was slick. He's on his carry-on. He has a box of popcorn there, the Pop Weaver. They had a cellophane wrap still in it. When the customs border agent opens it up, on top of it is the popcorn. Well, underneath, if you see kind of that picture, it's kind of hard to tell. There's all these vanilla envelopes. In each one of those envelopes is about 20 corn seeds with all different little markings on them. So we know it's a code again. We're like, there you go. On Yi, as Yi's trying to cross, on his person and on his little carry-on, he has over 30 Subway napkins full of about the 20 corn seeds, all with special markings again. Now, one thing I love to bring up about this slide right here is going back to that original tech up when they were getting in the Tahoe. When Dr. Lee wasn't with them, Yi would complain always about Dr. Lee. What Dr. Lee made him do was every single day, and I this is no joke, made him eat at Subway. And he said that's because all good Americans eat at Subway every single day. So Yi had to eat there every single day, and Yi complained about it. So I just want to say, I know everybody listening here that's a good American. Subway appreciates your customer loyalty. Keep it up, guys. I'm really proud of you. I'm not there yet with Subway every day. I'm trying. So, all right. Now Wang, the one that was the Canadian, he's doing the same thing, doing the SDRs. I had 3 different surveillance teams, 3 teams on him, all at different times, and they're all losing him because he is driving so erratic. But again, as he's coming up to one of our border crossings right there, the Highgate border, oh, lo and behold, he was another one of those random searches. So he was pulled aside. They go through his car, and in his car he had a duffel bag, and the duffel bags, you can see right there, paper bags. Inside each paper bag was vanilla envelopes. Vanilla envelopes, again, corn seed, 20 apiece. And this one's a little easier to see. You can see different markings. They're like numbers and letters. Now it's up to us, the FBI. We got to figure out what these corn seeds are and what they have. While this is all happening, the greatest thing was Wang, Lee, Yi, all of them, they're blowing up Mo's phone. But Mo's, he's here in the U.S. and they're freaking out. They're all saying they're taking our corn seed. They're taking our corn seed. We were loving it. And Mo's like, it's okay. He's trying to be the counselor to them, but it was great. All right. So I put this slide in here just to kind of show you this is the investigation itself. It's economic espionage. And this is what we would work no matter what the product is. Again, don't think of it as a corn seed. But what we do tell everyone here is what makes these cases of value is the fact it's a trade secret. It's something you're working on, you're innovating, and then a foreign power or even a person in the U.S., if they try to steal that from you guys, that's a trade secret theft. And this is why we work economic espionage. Espionage deals with military. Economic espionage kind of deals with almost everything else. Okay. All right. So in every federal law or any law, really, you have to meet all the criteria. So you have three there to make it a theft of trade secrets. Steal or take without authorization, that's easy to prove. But yeah, these guys were on their hands and knees digging in the fields. Send mail, well, they were using FedEx, they were using UPS, they were doing everything they could to get it back over. And then have a person that's going to receive this trade secret. Well, we had a DBN genetic researcher just on the one case I told you about FedEx earlier. So these guys met it very nice and easy. So we were definitely hitting the parameters that we needed for the prosecution. The big thing here on this slide, like everyone to understand, is a foreign agent is, obviously since we're working that with counterintelligence, is what we look at. Now, a foreign agent doesn't always have to be a foreign national. It can be a U.S. person if they're if they're representing or helping or assisting a foreign country or a foreign person. If just one person tells them, hey, get this for me. That's why we're looking at all these different individuals that were in these independent companies. And remember, all these Chinese nationals that were working for all these companies, they were U.S. citizens at that time too. So they were assisting a foreign national in attempting to steal corn seed. Okay, and the big thing there is reasonable measures. I like to talk about that. A trade secret could be anything. Again, it doesn't even have to be something physical. It can be the topology of your guys' system for your, the way you guys maybe communicate with each other. It can be methods, it can be prototypes. It doesn't have to be exactly, something that's physical in the hand like a corn seed. As long as you guys do the reasonable measures. Reasonable measures is you have to have steps. This is a big thing to talk with your security personnel, whoever that might be. If that's you, you need to have these in line, because if you don't, the U.S. attorneys usually aren't going to want to prosecute these cases. If it's not reasonably protected, then it's like they look at it saying, well, you're letting anyone have it. It's kind of like publishing, the latest and greatest secrets. Well, okay, now you're letting everyone have it. So what makes it a secret at that point? So please really look at your guys' criteria you do for each company. If there's more, security measures you can put in place, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if it causes a little bit of pain for people, it's a good thing. Okay, so December 11, 2013, I get the green light. Hey, get down to Florida. You're gonna go ahead and do a search warrant and arrest Mo. So Mo has his home, his business. We have storage lockers all across the United States. We have another office in Chicago. So we had multiple FBI agencies, personnel all involved in this. At the same time this was happening, we also have, and some of you may know this or may not know this, both Little Rock and Kansas City had a rice genetic modified seed case occurring. Those guys were talking to our guys of how to steal the rice seed. So headquarters made those guys wait until we were going to execute our search warrant. So it was just a massive search going on this day. And I'll be honest with you, everything went off fantastic. I couldn't thank these people enough that are all involved in it. And like I said, it was hundreds of men and women. And yeah, we got our subjects arrested. We found great evidence and went on from there. All right. So after that, then we did an indictment for conspiracy to steal trade secrets. We got our 6 people right there: Dr. Lee, Wang, Mo, Lee, Yi, and Wang. Now, Mo was the only one to be arrested. Headquarters wanted me to act on it. They were like, okay, no longer waiting, because both Kansas City and Little Rock wanted to arrest their people. And we're like, all right. At this point now, then we have what's called a red notice on our other 5 subjects there. Red notice is an international wanted. And a red notice is pretty intense. And that just basically means any country that's friendly with the United States will notify the United States, hey, your subject is in our country, or your subject's headed to our country. And that basically goes straight to me. So I'll get calls sometimes late at night from Hong Kong, from wherever, saying, hey, Byron, we think one of your subjects is coming. It hasn't been yet. They just think that it is, and I'm always like that. But I often wonder about this right now is, could there be a wanted in China for other personnel? One, for possibly charges of being not nice because he arrests people who commit, federal law violations in the United States. And 2, not being a good American because he doesn't eat Subway every day. I don't know, but there could be. All right, so we start looking at discovery phase. We have a lot to go through here. So on we had about over 30 computers we're looking at. We had poll cams of years and years of poll cams. I mean, my eyeballs were burning. I had to go through all this stuff. And we have thousands and thousands of classified documents that I got to get declassified. Now, one thing that I love again about the stupid spy, Mo was very neat. What Mo did was on his computer, Mo had, when you open up his thing, he had folders labeled DBN. He had another folder labeled DBN text, another folder labeled DBN talk on, like telephone. I mean, he just put everything in there it was like an investigator's dream. Like, oh wow, here's everything I can find. So it was very helpful. And again, in the FBI, we appreciate the stupid spy. So we, at this point, as we're going through everything, there was, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of chats between him and DBN executives. The case itself, we realized when we first started this case in 2011, we were seeing things back to 2009. I kept telling headquarters, I'm like, I think this case goes longer. And from what Mo's computer showed, they started this in 2007. And we had our analysts, along with our victim companies, kind of work up what we believe, how much they stole. And just at a minimum, we believe right now from the corn seed technology they stole, it was valued at over $6 billion. And I want to say something that each one of those corn seeds, just one corn seed to come to market is nearly $100 million because it takes about 8 years of research and development to get that one seed to market. So if China can steal that, they forego having to pay $100 million and then they can put it to market and say, hey, look what we invented. And the seeds they were after, China was after one particular seed, and it was at the animal feed, the biofeed. Those are one of the most expensive corn seeds to produce. So this is what we discovered from looking at Mo's computers and just for surveilling them and watching what they were trying to steal and get back to China. All right, June 2014, my partner Mark comes to me one day and says, hey partner, you want to go to Disneyland? My immediate reply was, easy now, let's keep our relationship professional. Mark comes back with ha-ha funny. He says, hey man, he goes, Mo Yoon, who is the sister of Mo Hailong, who used to be an executive in DBN, she's coming with her 2 children to go to Disneyland. I said, oh really? Yeah. So we go back to those chat sessions. Mo Yoon was telling Mo to buy that farmland that was in Redfield, Iowa, I mentioned, and how to plant out the current corn seed and to get it back to China. She was telling him how to do this. So we knew at this point then we needed to have a talk with our AUSA, the federal prosecutor, and we sat down with him. We said, hey, look, she's coming in town. We got these chat sessions. She's no longer with DBN. She quit in 2009, but she was telling him how to do this for 2 years. So we had a dilemma here. One is we let her come with her children, and then we arrest her. 2 is we deny her access to the United States. Or 3 is because this is such old information that all we could really do is let her come and go, and there's nothing we can really do. I believe that every child should have Disney magic at least once in their life. So we decided to let her and her children come to Disneyland. And then after Disneyland, we're going to arrest her. I know you're all cool. Wow, FBI, you got a big heart. Yeah, we do. So we decide, hey, let's hit her at the airport on her way out. So we go up, we approach her along with FBI LA. We're both in suits, Mark and I. We're like, hey, how are you? We'd like to talk to you about your brother Mo. And she's like, sure. Her English was perfect, spot on. And we start talking to her a little bit, ask her some real simple questions, and then we pull out that chat session that he had on his computer where she was directing him how to get the farmland. We said, hey, is this you right here talking to Mo? And she's like, yes, that's me. And we said, oh, hey. I go, hey, would you flip that page? The next page starts getting into all the spy activities. She looks at it and she goes, she goes, I want my brother's lawyers. And we knew at that point, okay, she's asking for an attorney. We said, ma'am, you're under arrest. And she goes, no, I'm not. She goes, I'm going home. And we go, no, ma'am, you're under arrest. And she goes, no, I'm not. I'm going home. Well, we tell her again, and after a lot of crying and gnashing of teeth, I'm not sure if it was Mark crying or her, but regardless, went without incident. We were able to, handcuff her and she went to jail. All right. So now we do a superseding indictment. That means an additional indictment. So now we have our 7 subjects there, all charged with the theft of trade secrets. And now we're getting ready for trial prep. So the big thing is that we look at here is headquarters starts to ask me, they said, how how connected do you think Mo is with the Chinese government? Because at this point, China knows about him, but we got to be real careful when we're trying to see this. I said, you always got to watch the dollars, okay? Mo was getting so heavily funded for this case, it was almost ridiculous. Over $13.5 million was spent on Mo's defense. He had 6 attorney firms. He had experts in every single field coming out. The great thing was, in the FBI, guess what? We have experts, and we went to our private sector companies, both our ag companies, and they brought their own people in who did a phenomenal job because they were able to speak in terms, and I'm going to say layman terms, to where judges, everyone else could understand it, because obviously scientists could get there and talk about the tech of ag, and yeah, you'd probably lose us. But no, they kept it down to where it's like, okay, here's what it is, here's the value of it, and here's why they need to steal it. And they knocked it out of the ballpark. We didn't lose a single thing on that. As a matter of fact, even some of their experts, the judge basically threw out because our experts were so much more, enhanced and knew the research better than they did. She realized, okay, you don't have the knowledge that these guys have, and what you're saying seems a little bit like, just kind of made up. All right, so January 2016, 5 days before Mo's trial, we went through almost 2 years of suppression hearings. I was going in front of the judge probably about every week and a half, getting berated over and over by the defense attorney. Even one time, the guy compared me, and I'm not kidding with you, to Lucille Ball, saying that my case was comical and that I'm about as silly as Lucille Ball, and I'm not kidding. It hurt. Okay, 5 days before, guess what? They lost every suppression hearing from Mo. They decided to plead guilty. And part of the sentencing was Mo was looking at 20 years, but with the plea deal, he was only looking now at 36 months. And, that irks me, just him getting only that amount of time. But we seized everything that he had, all his property, the farmland. Mo was an LPN here, so he lost his legal permanent residence. He was basically banished to China after spending his 3 years in prison. All his partners in crime there with DBN, the red notices are still active on them. They'll still be active until they're caught. So it'll remain active always on these guys. So that's what's happening right now with that. Big takeaway from this case is I call this, no joke, I do call this my God bless me slide, because hundreds and hundreds of men and women through the FBI, private sector, Customs Border, TSA were involved in this case. And this case was never about Byron Militello. It was about all these other individuals and the work they put into it. Because when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, about every 3 weeks, I was asking people, I need help surveillance. Every time my squad here was just like, what do you need, man? And a lot of the stuff was on a Friday night, all day Saturdays, the Sundays. They were all jumping in. They had the due diligence to help me, and I can't thank them enough. The big other takeaway from this slide that I like to point out to people, I didn't really put it in any random order except for one. I put the victim companies as number one, because if it wasn't for the scientists, for their security, for their legal department, willing to work with us and explain to us and constantly coach us on what we're looking at, where we need to go, this case couldn't have been successful. And what I tell everyone who's listening right now, these cases only happen when something suspicious or strange happens within your company or something that you know about, is when you report it to the FBI. And I make this, it's only one promise that we can make in the FBI, and that is the fact that if this ever happens to you guys, I promise you that whatever local FBI office that's near you guys, they'll do a better job than I ever did. They will devote the resources, the personnel, use every tech mean, legal mean they can to go after these individuals. And I promise you, we will hunt them down and we will find them. And it's all because of these people and their just great work ethic. All right. I always like to give people a little bit of a takeaway. Yeah.
Byron, thank you. We have, I don't want to rush. I know Kevin Owens has a question in the chat. And his question is, how can we increase the level of awareness for companies to understand that this does occur?
Okay, this slide right here. Yeah.
Back home. So I guess the awareness question comes into play.
Right. I'm sorry. I apologize for going over. This awareness, okay, if you look down, see the one I underlined? What we do in the FBI, I like to tell people this too, we call it InfoSec training. To me, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard doing it, but every year we test. If you could come up with some kind of maybe retraining of your employees, the do's and don'ts, and that's what it is. So if you're trying to put the awareness out, here's the do's, here's the don'ts. And what I'm glad of those don'ts is, hey, if someone outside our organization is talking to you, you don't talk about what we do here. If you travel, if you guys, like a lot of people, what we do, we go to lunch in somewhere, we go outside the office, you can't talk about work there, or if you do, it's got to be something that's very blasé, not something that's going to be about, what you guys are working on. That's a big thing. With this training, if you do that every year, it gives people that awareness. Because people do forget, like, oh yeah, I can't do that. Yeah, this is what it is. And it also holds people accountable. So if you do have an employee that's doing it on purpose, obviously like some of these employees of these seed companies, that's evidence. That means that with this, you can present this to the FBI and say, hey, this guy's been trained for 10 years, and for 9 years he's been helping out China or Russia or just some other country. And that's called damning evidence, and it's fantastic. So please, you don't have to do it, but think about that. That's a big thing that a lot of companies, I don't think, do with these trainings and hold people accountable for it.
But okay.
Anything else?
I see Adam. Yeah, I think Adam Francis is typing. Adam, do you want to come up on that and say your question?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't really have necessarily a question, but I just wanted to say fantastic presentation. I'm originally from Iowa. I've lived and worked in the agriculture industry all my life. Well, I mean, for a good majority of it. But I was just commenting that I've seen so much intellectual property theft over the years in some of the trade shows that we go to from the agriculture industry, and it's convenient how 1 year you'll see a lot of, I don't like the stereotype, but you'll see a lot of foreigners that will come in,
mm-hmm.
and then the following year you'll see that exact same product from a different country. And it just baffles my mind at how much it's almost widely accepted in the ag industry, which is sad, but it happens all the time.
No, you're right. Just to reiterate what you're saying is, we found data even out there where Chinese companies in China, who we don't have any, believe that have any resources showing they stole anything from U.S. ag companies. They've done publications saying it's not even worth us to make a new product because in less than 6 months it gets stolen from us. So it's like the Chinese companies are stealing from each other, and then they come over here to steal from the American companies. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, it's really bad. Yeah. So
absolutely.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So anybody have anything else? I'm sorry to go over. I apologize. I know I did.
You're fine. What I'd like to do is, if there's a website that we could go to for complaints, I know there's one for cyber. Is it the same for all?
No, it's not the same for all. Now, obviously, if it's a cyber complaint, go to ic3.gov. If you have anything suspicious, anything that's strange, please call your local FBI office up. If you don't even know who that is, there's my contact. Please reach out to me. Obviously, I'm not going to answer if you call me other personnel, but go ahead. Contact me. I will try to get you to the local FBI office, because the idea is you got agents like me. We're counterintelligence. I got a partner next to me. If one's not here, the other one is. We pick it up and we run with that ball, and that's what they do in the other offices. They're going to okay, let's see what we got here. A lot of times, it might be just something kind of weird, but maybe nothing else. But like this right here, it was kind of one of those guys in one of our growers' fields on their hands and knees. They didn't call us. It was the fact that we went to them and they just said, yeah, that's kind of weird. And we're like, oh yeah, so please just reach out to the local FBI office if you can, or me. I'm fine with that.
Well, thank you, Byron.
Thank you so much.
Did Kevin have a question? I don't know. Kevin Owens, I saw you pop up.
He posted something in the chat room.
Okay.
Oh, he doesn't have a mic.
No mic. All right. This was really fascinating. I've heard it twice now. Every time I hear it, I learn something new. So that's a good thing. Maybe my brain is small, but thanks for your humor and your professionalism.
Great. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah.
That was a great presentation.
Thanks. Yeah. Everybody's always like, I find my biggest one. Everybody goes, I never knew corn porn. I start laughing. I'm like, that actually came out of a science book. I'm not joking with you. Some scientists thought that was funny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody has questions afterwards, please, you can email me. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can, or if there's, a contact you need, please. Yeah, we're always, obviously in the FBI, we're always trying to stop this before it happens, but obviously we want to protect you guys and what you have. So, yeah, please, it starts with you guys. Please contact us if something's going on. Other than that, I'll...